Namaskar, Nilesh Oak here. In this session, I would like to discuss the journey of Ram and Lakshman with Vishwamitra, beginning from Ayodhya, going all the way to Siddhashram, and from there to Mithila. The event also includes Ram and Lakshman visiting the ashram of Ayodhya and Gautam, Ram, Lakshman, Bharat, Shatrughna getting married in Mithila, and they returning to Ayodhya. Number of you would be familiar with something known as Saptarshi Ramayana. It is a beautiful summary of Valmiki Ramayana, and naturally the 7 rishis, each rishi assigned to one particular kanda, is used as a mnemonic device to provide us with a beautiful summary. What we are going to discuss in this session is that high-level summary of Balakanda. Now, in Balakanda, there are many other things, but we are going to start our journey from the day when Vishwamitra Muni, Rishi, Maharshi, and Brahmarshi came to the palace of Dashrath, requested assistance of Ram, and then Ram and Lakshman traveled with Vishwamitra. To set the background, let's quickly look at the timing of Ramayana. If we look at all the astronomy evidence and non-astronomy evidence from the text of Valmiki Ramayana, and if we analyze it in a scientific fashion with logical reasoning, it takes us to 13th millennium BCE as the timing of Ramayana. In a simple language, that is going about and more than 14,000 years ago from today. What I'm going to do is briefly show you 4 or 6 of specific pieces of astronomy evidence out of some close to 600 that I found in the text of Valmiki Ramayana. For example, right now we are celebrating Rama Navami, that is Chaitra Shukla Navami, Punarvasu Nakshatra. And in our times, the celebration occurs during the second half of Vasanta Rutu. It actually feels very hot. However, if you look at the descriptions of Valmiki Ramayana of the month of Chaitra, you find actually descriptions are extremely pleasant descriptions. The forests are blooming with flowers. Now, that can be Vasanta Rutu, but remember, Ramayana did not happen in our times. Ramayana did not happen 2000 years ago when Chaitra was still in the Vasanta Rutu. But the descriptions have to match with the season. And if you look at the Ramayana evidence, it tells us that it was the season of a Sharad Rutu. There are many descriptions in Valmiki Ramayana. As an illustration, I'm simply pulling one description where it's described, Iti Bruvanta Mudita Pratyanandana Rupanrupam Vrishtimantam Mahamegam Nardanta Iva Barhina. The atmosphere of that time when Rama was going to be coronated, again it was the month of Chaitra, is described as if the clouds, they are filled with water, dark clouds, ready to pour the rain, and the peacocks are dancing. If you look at another astronomy evidence from Aranya Kanda, where Lakshman is describing the Hemanta Rutu at Panchavati, and he is describing the position of the sun and its location where it is setting on the western horizon. He says, Nivrutta Akasha Shayana Pushyanita Himaruna. He says, sun is setting near Nakshatra Pushya at this time of Hemanta Rutu. And what's so big deal about it? If we apply our knowledge of astronomy and the phenomenon of the precession of the Earth's axis, immediately it takes us to somewhere from 11,000 BCE to 17,000 BCE. When Ram and Lakshman are waiting outside Kishkinda, they are recalling what Bharat might be doing just at the beginning of a rainy season, and they describe that Bharat must have taken his Chaturmasya vows, Chaturmasya Vrata decision on a Ashadhi. In our times, the Chaturmas or the rainy season begins with Ashad. But remember, again, Ramayana is not happening in our times. Here, the reference to Ashad is not the lunar month of Ashad, but it is the position of the sun near Nakshatra Ashad. That also takes us back to 13th millennium BC. The two pole stars, one in the south, one in the north. Remember, Ravan is controlling most part of the world and he is traveling around the world. Sage Vishwamitra has also traveled to the south. So Indians are very much aware of both hemispheres and the celestial objects of both hemispheres. Sugriva describes to Vanara party that they have to go all the way to the end of the Indian peninsula before they can see star Agastya. And why is that? Because Agastya has become a pole star at that time. When Angad and party are looking for Sita, they left at the end of a Sharad Rutu. They have gone through months after months searching for Sita. And then it is the time of a Vasanta Rutu. So few seasons have gone by. Season of Hemanta and season of Shishir have gone by. And Angad is worried and he's saying, I see everywhere the signs of Vasanta Rutu. We have spent a long time looking for Sita. Sugriv must be very angry. I feel frustrated. And even this Vasanta Rutu is passing away. And the timing he mentions is that of the month of Ashwin. Vayam Ashwayuje Masi Kala Sankhya Vyavastita Prastita Sopi Chatita Kimatat Karyam Uttaram. Now this month of Ashwin is also passing. How are we going to accomplish our mission? If we put Chaitra at the Sharad season, and if we put Ashwin at the Vasanta Rutu, guess what? The situation is exactly opposite of what we have today. And the precession cycle is approximately of 26,000 years. So if we have to go halfway through that, we have to go back about 13,000 years. Again, that takes us to 13th millennium BC. And this one is just a brilliant evidence from Valmiki Ramayana. Valmiki Ramayana, without any hesitation, in a very crisp language, describes the pole star of Ramayana times. Brahma Rashir Vishuddhasya Shuddhasya Paramashya Archishmantah Prakashante Dhruvam Sarve Pradakshinam. Many acharyas have recognized, especially those who understood astronomy. And of course, some acharyas who might have understood astronomy and still has actually missed the identification of Brahma Rashi. But Brahma Rashi is nothing but Abhijit, which is same as star Vega, and Vega does become a pole star once every 26,000 years. All of these 6 references plus the 500 plus additional references of Valmiki Ramayana, they all take us to 13 millennium BC, where Brahma Rashi Vega was a pole star in the north, Agastya was pole star in the south, and the situation at the cardinal point, 4 cardinal points, the solstices and equinoxes, is as per the described in the Valmiki Ramayana. Why this is important? Because we have to have a context of a time. We are thinking, we are discussing the geography of a time that is 14,000 years ago, and things do change. If you are more interested, just to quickly show you, these are the books of mine published in India. You can have it from Subbu Publications. The relevant book here for the Ramayana discussion is the first book, 12,209 BC. If you are outside India, then you can go to amazon.com, slightly different covers, same 3 books. The 12,209 BC becomes the historic Rama, otherwise the titles are the same. Let's look at the geography near Ayodhya. What we have here is Ayodhya. This is the Sharayu River coming here all the way near modern day Chhapra, where it met Ganga. Then we also have a river Shona coming from the south, meeting somewhere around that spot. And just for reference, you can look at Varanasi here, or if you go further west, Prayagraj, and further west, Chitrakoot. It is important to keep that in mind, whereas over a period of 14,000 years, most of the mountains may not suddenly change their places, or rather we can feel confident that they will stay more or less at the same location. That is not true with the river streams. So let's begin with the first day when Ram, Lakshman, and Vishwamitra left Ayodhya. We will not go into that katha, like the whole discussion between Vishwamitra, Vasishta, and Dasharatha. So Ram, Lakshman, and Vishwamitra now left Ayodhya. That was the day 5th December 12,224 BCE. The second day, Valmiki Ramayana tells us that from that ashram, they walked a significant distance and arrived at a location that was close to the confluence of Sharayu River and Ganga River. On the third day, 7th December, they crossed River Ganga using the boats, and they traveled through the area of a Trataka Vana. They arrived at the area of Trataka Vana. On this day, Ram killed Trataka. On the fourth day, that is 8th December 12,224 BCE, they walked further and now arrived at the Siddhashram. I have decided or determined or conjectured the location of Siddhashram based on some of the descriptions of the mountains and other features, which I could not find in our today's geography west of this location. So therefore, I conjectured that it would be, or it could be, close to Rajgir. Again, remember, there are some approximations involved because of the sheer length of time. We are talking of something that happened 14,000 years ago. But what is impressive is that the locations match with amazing description, the geographical descriptions, the river descriptions, and so on. So once they arrived at Siddhashram, so this is like 4 days are gone. And if you remember Valmiki Ramayana descriptions, sage Vishwamitra had asked King Dasharatha Rama's assistance for 10 days. And these are these 10 days. So 4 days were required to travel to Siddhashram with some interesting activities in between. And now Valmiki Ramayana tells us that the 6 days of Vishwamitra's yajna were remaining, or the yajna duration was 6 days. And so that happened from here. So day number 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So those are the 6 days there. This corresponds to 9th through 14th of December, 12,224 BC at Siddhashram. Ram, Lakshman protected the yajna. They appropriately punished Marich and Subahu. The next day, the residents of the ashram as well as Vishwamitra requested Ram and Lakshman to accompany them as they were heading to Mithila to attend the yajna that Mithila Naresh, Janak, either was already doing or was planning to do. It's not very clear. So the next day, they began from Siddhashram, and by the end of the day, they came to the bank of river Shona. That's what Valmiki Ramayana says. That is 15th December, 11th day. The next day, they started from the bank of Shona. They traveled to the bank of Ganga, and they might have traveled along the bank of Ganga. It's not very clear. At the end of the day, they stayed on the bank of Ganga. Next day, they crossed Ganga, now going in the northern direction, and continued traveling until the city of Vishala. And that is where they stayed on the 13th day. That was 17th December. The next day, they traveled by the end of the day all the way to Mithila. Okay, I'm taking Janakpur in modern day Nepal as a proxy for Mithila. On the way, on this day, they visited the ashram of Gautama and everyone knows the story of Ahalya. One of the important things to remember, if you read Valmiki Ramayana versus the story that many of us may be familiar with, that actually Valmiki Ramayana tells us that when Ram and Lakshman arrived at the ashram, they were totally amazed by the purity of the ashram, and they asked Vishwamitra, it appears that not many people are living here, but it feels so auspicious and beautiful. Then Vishwamitra tells the story. And after that, they enter the ashram and they see a very purified, a great sage, Ahalya. Vishwamitra asked Ram and Lakshman to take her darshan. They touch her feet. Ahalya also recognizes the divinity of Rama, and she does a great reception for them. And by the end of the day, they arrive at Mithila. So they meet at Mithila. Janaka talks about his yajna that is going on. And the next day, Rama lifts the Shivadhanusha. And this is either the first day of Janaka's yajna, or at least Janaka tells that his yajna is going to continue for additional 12 days. That is the description we get in Valmiki Ramayana. What Janaka does, he sends the messengers after consultation with Vishwamitra to Ayodhya. Because remember, everyone else except Rama and Lakshman are in Ayodhya. The messengers takes about 3 days. That's what Valmiki Ramayana says. To arrive at Ayodhya, they conveyed the message. Everyone was happy. They made the preparations. And everyone from Ayodhya, the key individuals, of course, the royal family, they left for Mithila. And after 4 days journey, they arrived at Mithila. So on 30th December, okay, the yajna is completed. Then Janaka suggests that his brother and his daughter should also be brought in and should be married with the additional sons of Dashratha, which is what, Bharat and Shatrughna. So during this time, they arrive between 30 December and 2nd of January. On 2nd January is a Magha Nakshatra, Valmiki Ramayana tells us. They decide that the wedding should take place on Uttara Falguni in 3 days. That happens on the 5th of January, the wedding of Rama and Sita and all other remaining 3 brothers with the 3 sisters from the Janaka side. The wedding takes place on 5th of January. The nakshatra was Uttara Falguni. Next day, Vishwamitra with his disciples leaves for the northern mountains. Okay, so from there further north. And now Valmiki Ramayana doesn't exactly tell us when the Ikshwaku party or Dashratha's party returned to Ayodhya, but we have evidence to say that they definitely return within next 7 days or so. So therefore, I'm saying by 15th of January, they were back in Ayodhya. All right, the family reunion takes place there, and these newlywed couples, they go to their own palaces and start enjoying their life. Very soon, the Kekaya prince arrives in Ayodhya. He hears of this news and expresses his desire to take Bharat Shatrughna along with them to Kekaya Desh. Okay, so Dashratha gives that permission, and Bharat Shatrughna, their wives, they go to Kekaya Rajya. And then Valmiki Ramayana tells us that through few seasons or for up to a year, Ram and Sita enjoyed the time in Ayodhya. And when this is over, then the time comes for Rama's declaration as a Yuvraj. And all of us know the story. That doesn't happen. Rather, he's sent to Vanvas. But that would be another talk, another story. Namaskar.